In London, no, wait. In London right now, it is the 11th. In Australia, it is the 11th. And because of that, we are here today. We are here today and tomorrow, which is the 11th in the U.S., kind of not commemorating. We are looking back. It was on the 11th of 2019 of April that Julian Assange was snatched and grabbed by the Metropolitan Police in London and made a political prisoner at Belmore's prison. So why I am here today is that Comrade Misty said to me like a month ago, we're going to do something in D.C. I said, yeah, write me down. Sure, I'll be there. And then like 3 weeks ago, so we're doing April 11th, and I didn't realize at the time, but, well, that's the day that Julian was snatched and grabbed and put into this, what really is a medieval fortress in London. It's like the Tower of London is a luxury suite compared to where he is right now. So, and I said, not only that, but that's the anniversary of the show. I started with the help of Margaret Kunstler and others and Julian Assange on April 11, 2017, which was the program Assange Countdown to Freedom, which was on WBAI at that time. It was that day with Julian and John Pilger. We kicked off that show. So that was 5 years ago, 2 years ago. 2 years later, Julian was snatched and grabbed by Metropolitan Police and mummified basically in this horrible prison that you would, it's okay for if you were Hannibal Lecter, but not for one of the great minds of our time, one of the great individuals, one of the great humans of our time, one of the great talented individuals ever is there right now. And we'll all talk about that later on, the different reasons why he is there. We have an incredible cast. I'm going to basically do the Ed Sullivan routine tonight. I'm going to be introducing performers, and Katie Halper is going to help me with that because this is not about, as I said earlier, about other issues. There's a lot of issues right now. There's a war in Yemen. There's a war in Venezuela, and they're trying to overthrow the government of Cuba. The U.S. is committing crimes around the world. There's a war that's been going on for 8 years in Ukraine. I don't want to get into those subjects tonight. I want to get into Julian Assange because he is dying in that fucking prison, and we have to focus on that tonight. And I hope everyone will indulge that thought tonight and focus on Julian Assange, because there's a war going on right here. And it's a war on the very democracy, what's left of it in this country. It's a war on the First Amendment. It's a war on free speech. And it's being lodged by our government through Julian Assange. There is a war. We are, if he goes, whatever we have left of this democracy is gone, as John Pilger has said. So we are here to fight back against the war on the First Amendment and the strongest pillar of democracy in this country, which is the First Amendment, and the entire Bill of Rights right now is happening, and we have to fight back. And that's why I am here tonight. This is the fourth event. Humorous and stand-ups. I say humorous. Satirists for Assange is what I should say. And we have a great cast. We have a great a group of comedians and speakers tonight. And, you know, I get very upset thinking about it. That here we are tonight, we're all having a good time, and that guy, Julian Assange, 23 hours a day, 23 hours a day, this great mind, cutting off the fingers of Beethoven, Brahms, and Bach is what they've done. And tomorrow, I'm here because Comrade Misty said, come down on the 11th. And I said, okay, I'll exploit it and do this on the 10th. And say it's the 11th. And we'll do tomorrow in front of the... what do you think? I have good vision? All right. I'm Mr. Magoo. I can barely see that you gave that to me. But tomorrow, in front of early, the British consulate, which is the U.S. consulate, basically, because the U.S. controls the British consulate. There will be a demonstration at 10 o'clock in the morning. Am I right, Comrade Misty?
Yes, you're right.
And where is that located?
It's at the British Embassy. It's right by the, it's on, let's see.
3100
Mass Avenue.
3100 Massachusetts Avenue, at 10 o'clock in the morning. I will be there. And then there's one at 2 o'clock in front of
We're hitting both countries.
DOJ.
the DOJ. All right.
Yeah, the DOJ is
All
at
right.
2 to 4.
I hope Vanita Gupta comes out and says hello to us. All right, that's 2 o'clock. That's 10 o'clock. And so this is important that you show up tonight, but it's more important that you show up tomorrow. So everybody that's here tonight, it's important right now that we go on the streets. Because there is no chance that Julian is going to be freed unless the asses of the masses are on the street. It's on us. And tomorrow is the beginning of that. I mean, we've done this before. Chuck and my good friend Bernadette, I know her name. What do you think of her name? I'm Rain Man. It's there. So Chuck and Bernadette, we were here like way back in August. It was 175 degrees outside, and we did something with 2 other people that came by selling Italian ices, and that kept us alive. But yeah, so Medea was there. She came and did an interview, and then she melted and went away. But she's speaking tonight. So that being said, and then 2 o'clock in front of the DOJ, it's really important that we get out there because this is a fight. We are the Abraham Lincoln Brigade fighting against evil right now, and we have to get out there and fight and support because this republic is dying right now if they are able to silence Julian Assange for good. We need to fight for it. It's the fight. I know it's a lost cause. To some people, those are the only ones worth fighting for. And tonight we're going to hear from a lot of great speakers. I'm going to get someone that knows, who's been through this, to kick it off. He's done every event I've done in this city. This man always says, I'm there. He spent 2 years in prison. He exposed CIA torture. And he has devoted his life on behalf of the good fight. And you all know who he is. It's John Kiriakou. Give him a big round of applause.
Hi, everybody.
Hey, John.
Usually I try to come with a joke. I'm not funny, but I try to come with a
Neither
joke.
am I tonight.
I can't tonight. It's, we've gotten to crunch time. So I'll view my role tonight as bringing the crowd down so that our satirist friends can bring it back up again. I've been thinking about this a lot. And I mentioned the last time I was here that Julian's family has accused me, in a very friendly way, of being overly optimistic. And I've come to realize that they're right. I have been overly optimistic in the process. I just have believed that Julian's case was so crystal clear, and our concerns for his human rights and his civil rights and civil liberties has been so clear that he couldn't lose. And even as he began losing in the British judicial system, I convinced myself that cooler heads would prevail. I realized that I was wrong. And so I've come to the conclusion that from now on, it's up to us, right? We're the ones that have to take this to the streets and to the courts. Julian, in the event that he is extradited, and it's coming up to crunch time, today's the 10th, the Westminster Court is supposed to send his extradition to Priti Patel on the 20th, and then I'm assuming now that she's going to order his extradition. And so, God forbid, he could be here by the end of the month. And so, when he comes, I'm going to say when, he'll come to the Eastern District of Virginia, the espionage court. Forgive me if this is repetitive, but I've had personal experience in the Eastern District of Virginia. He cannot and will not get a fair trial. It's not possible. His jury will be made up of people who work for or who have friends and relatives working for the CIA, which is in the Eastern District of Virginia, the Pentagon, which is in the Eastern District of Virginia, the Department of Homeland Security, the FBI, and any one of dozens of intelligence community contractors. The deck is stacked. In my own experience, when I was facing trial, after I blew the whistle on the CIA's torture program, my best friend's wife had an uncle, if you can keep it all straight, who was O.J. Simpson's jury consultant. Yeah. I thought, oh, I've got it made now. He came up to Washington, we got him a security clearance, he went through 15,000 pages of classified discovery, and he said to me, if we were in any other district in America, I would say, let's go for it, we're gonna win this thing. But the Eastern District of Virginia, he said, buddy, you don't stand a chance. Take the deal. And so I took the deal. Julian's not being offered a deal. He's facing more than what, a century and a half in prison? Something like
175 years.
How much was it?
175 years.
175 years
He'll be
in prison.
250 when he gets out.
Yeah, he'll be 250 years old when he gets out. So there's no deal on the table. That's why I say it's up to us. In the event that he comes, we have to be at that court every single day. We have to be in the courtroom. We have to be outside the courthouse because that's where the media is going to be. And they have to understand that he has a core of support that's willing to throw down for him. We have to be there to convince the likes of the Washington Post and the New York Times and the Wall Street Journal that if Julian goes down for this, they're going down next. Because this is a very slippery slope. You know, I participated in a Zoom meeting not too long ago that included 2 former reporters for Night River. And neither one of them mentioned Julian through the entire presentation. And then finally in the Q&A at the very end of it, somebody said, well, wait a minute, what about Julian Assange? We've been talking for an hour and a half and nobody's mentioned Julian Assange. And one of these Night River reporters said, oh, I don't view him as a journalist, I view him as an activist. Well, you know what? Even if you don't view him as a journalist, he's certainly a publisher. And if a guy who's not even an American citizen can go to prison for 175 years for releasing information that the public owns, by the way, the American public own that information.
Yeah.
He pays that price and is not an American citizen, is not compelled by law to protect the information in the first place, then every national security journalist in America is next. Every last one. So let's all be there. Let's be there when they bring him in. We'll be there for every preliminary hearing. We'll be there for the trial. We'll be there to give interviews out front to every reporter who's going to be there. And you know that there are going to be reporters from all over the world. And people have to understand that he's not alone. That he has all of us. And there are a lot of us. So let's keep up the fight. Now the stakes are high. Now is when the fight begins. Thank you very much.
Well, you're an American hero.
Thank you.
You really are. You sacrificed a lot, John. And you never spare yourself. You are out there. You do all of the different podcasts, radio shows. You've been here every single time. And I really salute you for that. And I think this audience will too. John Kiriakou. I want to give a shout out to the people that have been out there for Julian Assange who are watching this show tonight. I know that. And first of all, John Pilcher. Give him a big round of applause. The great John Pilcher. Stefania Marizzi, Nils Melzer. What about Nils Melzer? Fred Murray, the great Fred Murray. And individual that saved my life by getting me this little dog. And that is Roger Waters. Roger Waters. Who is the Paul Robeson of our time. Paul Robeson of our time is Roger Waters. It is? It is today? Wow, what a coincidence. A lot of coincidences today. But I want to thank all of those people. I want to thank you all for coming in. And we're going to keep the show rolling, and we're going to be doing things. I talked to Katie. We're kind of like improvising our way through this, all right? So we're going to be going to comedian, to musician, to a speaker. So please be very thoughtful of the performers. And we're going to go to comedy right now, and then we're going to go to music. And this John F. O'Donnell, who's one of those. They know you better than they know me. Yeah. Well, he's one of those that was a correspondent for Redacted Tonight, which was silenced by the U.S. Justice Department. They have silenced RT. Why? Why? I do RT. Why not? I mean, I've been on MSNBC. I know it's like government controlled. I mean, you think that Mary Melber doesn't get like something on the side, you know, from those guys? All right, so there's no pure news broadcast in this country. It's like you watch MSNBC and CNN, you get it's all panel discussions. And it's like, it's so skewed. It's like, remember the McLaughlin Group?
Sure.
All right, it's like the McLaughlin Group where you got 5 points of view. The right, the far right, the extreme right, the fascist right, and the third right. That's what you got for those groups. And that is what's happening today on these shows. There's no, it's like Jim Scioto, he's going to survive. If Julian Assange goes to prison, he and Jim Acosta and their tubs of drill cream will survive for a long period of time. The same way when they broke out of the display window at Saks Fifth Avenue, where they were like this. One guy gets it, man. Thank you, John. You're the only guy who still uses drill cream, all right? All right, so those people, what is he doing? Is he praying over here? It's all right, you're dressed in black. I figure, one of those guys from India that does that. It's all right. Fishman? All right, dressed like that. All right, Steve Brown. Steve Brown, by the way.
Hey, Steve.
Steve Brown, if you don't know who he is on the board at Covert Action Magazine. And where's Lou Wolf over here, who I met in 1986, is a co-founder with Ellen Ray and Bill Schaap. And I remember I was at the event I think it was somewhere in Boston, right? It was in Cambridge. We did some kind of event for Covert Action Magazine, and that's when I first met you. That's like almost 40 years ago, and it was about the war in Nicaragua and the counterinsurgency in El Salvador. And I went there and I did my Reagan impression. Yes, I remember that with you, Lou. I was doing my Reagan back then, and the Sandinistas have done it again. They invaded Honduras, and I have a photograph that bears me out. Well, it's not exactly a photograph, it's a shadowgraph. As you can see, the guy with the duck head is, all right, that was what I did back then at that event. And, please give this guy some speed, or a line of blow, or anything, man. Anybody got some clean blow here? I tried cocaine one day for 20 years, and I said, this shit does not work out, man. I gotta get away from it. And I said, that's it, man. All right, so we're gonna move to comedy right now. So John F., I've already introduced you, John F. I've been pacing back and forth. I want you to keep it down to 1 minute and 30 seconds. No, I'm kidding. We've already discussed this. He's actually very funny. And one of the originals at the great show Redacted Tonight, which has been redacted by the U.S. government. Would you please welcome John F. O'Donnell.
Guys, Randy, everybody, give him a round of applause. Cool. And how about John, guys? John, give John another round of applause. Is this mic working okay?
Yes.
Awesome. I'm John. Yeah, it's good to be back in DC. I haven't been back in DC for a few years, so it's good to be back here. Give yourselves a round of applause for coming out. Come on. Give yourselves a round of applause for showing your solidarity with Julian Assange. This, I remember when I was in DC doing shows all the time for like, I guess I would call them sort of political normies, you know, like DC normies. I would always ask them something about Edward Snowden, but I think it also applies to Julian Assange. I would say this, I would ask them a question, I would go, round of applause if you think Edward Snowden is a hero. And I get this little trickle of like, of like nervous applause. And then I would say, round of applause if you think he's a traitor. And again, it'd be this little trickle of like, and then I'd say, round of applause if you didn't applaud because you're maneuvering for political position and you're not sure who's around. So you don't want to reveal how you feel about the situation. And everybody would be like, yeah, that's me! That's me! I'm in the third category. My moral compass is broken. My moral compass is broken. I want to be a congressional staffer. I want to be a congressional staffer. I want to work for Mitch McConnell. Yeah. I want to work for a turtle-faced man with a jolly gullet. Yeah. I want to work for a turtle-faced man with a jolly gullet. Yeah. And if I do a good job, maybe he'll pee on me or whatever. I just wanted to see what happened if I got dirty up top, you know what I mean? After following a hero CIA whistleblower, turn my Mitch McConnell joke into a pee-pee joke right up top in solidarity with Julian. This is the comedy portion of the show, you guys. This is the comedy portion of the show. Let's have some fun, right? Wouldn't Julian want us to have some fucking fun right now, huh? That's how I feel about it. So let me tell you who I am. Let me get vulnerable. Let me get honest. I'm John. I'm a sober, vegan conspiracy theorist with bipolar disorder who lives with his mom in suburban New Jersey. I do not sound cool on paper. But let me explain myself. I'm sober because I have bipolar disorder, so I have to be, according to my doctors, plural. I'm vegan also because I have bipolar disorder, because it's important to have a low inflammation diet. It's really good for the brain, and being vegan is a good way to do it, so I'm vegan for that reason. I'm also vegan for ethical reasons concerning the environment and animal rights, is what I tell aging hippie boomers so they'll give me hand jobs. What? I'm a conspiracy theorist because I'm paying attention. I have bipolar disorder because of ill-advised LSD experimentation in high school on a fish show. Probably. And I live with my mom in suburban New Jersey because all of my money's tied up in cryptocurrency. This is who I am. Which begs the question, do you guys know my mom? Do you guys know Pam? Do you guys know Pammy? Do you guys know my mom? Do you guys know Pamela? She's pretty cool. I love her a lot. But that being said, her primary email address is an optonline.net email address. She uses the email address that's given out as the cable provider as her main email address. Ugh, gross. I can barely love her anymore. But that being said, she needs to hold on to that email because she created a Gmail email address, and for real, the Gmail email address she created is lest we forget 9/11 at gmail.com.
Yeah, I like it.
For real.
I like it.
And I was like, Mom, why did you create the email address lest we forget 9/11 at gmail.com? She was like, well, I was watching television, there was a commercial on TV for September 11th commemorative coins, and I figured no one would have that email address. Yeah, no shit, no one has that email address. Could you imagine somebody did? To be like, oh, let's try lest we forget 911_1 @gmail.com. If you have the email address lest we forget 911 @gmail.com, you can't send like a casual email. You can't be like, hey, Pammy here, aka lest we forget 911 @gmail.com. Just want to remind everybody about the bake sale. I'll be doing my famous snickerdoodle cookies. Carol, you're gonna do red velvet cupcakes. Oh, and Terry, you're gonna do brownies. But don't forget, a lot of kids have nut allergies, so keep the ones with the nuts away from the ones without the nuts. Never forget about the nut allergies. Never forget, never forget, never forget about the nut allergies. If you have the email address lest we forget 911 @gmail.com, the only person you can email is like Dick Cheney. Because we all know he orchestrated the entire thing. And that's why I've called you all here tonight. Please, immediately after the show, go to www.tabardin.com/jet fuel cannot melt steel beams. And read everything on that webpage. And if you still have any questions afterwards, feel free to email my mom. All right. Yeah, man.
Thank you for that.
You got it, my man. So, yeah, so maybe like IRL I'm not doing great, but I am crushing it on the internet. I am the most popular Jonathan O'Donnell by far on the internet. Thank you. First page, second page, third page, fourth page, all me, all this guy. That being said, interestingly, the 9th entry on the first page is not about me. It's a different John F. O'Donnell. Who is it, you ask? Brigadier General John F. O'Donnell. He got the number 9 spot. Sure, why not? All he's done is been a command pilot in the United States fucking Air Force who's logged more than 2,500 hours in the air and partaken in more than 250 combat missions while flying either his F-4 Phantom or his F-104 Starfighter, son. And his military decorations include what? I don't know, the Legion of Merit, the Distinguished Flying Cross, the Bronze Star Medal, the Air Medal, and the Air Force Commendation Medal. Yeah, 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 yeah. But he ain't got his own website, son. Suck it, Brigadier General John F. O'Donnell. You ain't on Twitter. You ain't on Instagram. You ain't got no podcast. Probably because you were born in 1930 and died in 2005. But whatever. Get your shit together. Your internet's presence is pathetic, man. And here's my favorite part, you guys. There's no way in a million years, man, in 1969, man, when Brigadier General John F. O'Donnell was flying over northern Vietnam, man, and dropping God knows how many tons of napalm and cluster bombs on the Vietnamese people, that he ever could have imagined in his wildest dreams that part of the freedom he was fighting for was, in fact, the freedom for me, comedian John F. O'Donnell, to include him, Brigadier General John F. O'Donnell, in my adorable little comedy routine. God bless you, Brigadier General John F. O'Donnell. You are a patriot, sir. You are a patriot, sir, and you are a war criminal. You are a war criminal, sir. Depending on who you talk to. Vietnam, man. Viet fucking Nam, man. Everybody on 1, 2, 3, Viet fucking Nam, man. 1, 2, 3. Viet fucking Nam, man. Isn't that like bizarrely cathartic? Yeah, let's talk about the elephant in the room. Let's talk about what you guys want to talk about. Say it with me. You guys want to talk about the US-backed right-wing coup that happened in Bolivia a couple years that nobody knows about. Boom, nailed it. I know when a group of Assange reporters want to talk about the US-backed right-wing coup that happened in Bolivia a couple years ago that nobody knows about, but probably people in this room do know about. I don't bring it up to be political. I only bring it up because this coup apparently was over lithium, because it's believed that Bolivia has the world's largest reserves of lithium, and it's thought that lithium is going to become an even more valuable resource than fossil fuels because of how it's used to power all sorts of technology, electronics, and batteries and computers and stuff like that, right? So, here's the thing. Generally speaking, I'm against resource-based regime change wars. But I have bipolar disorder. I'm on lithium. I take lithium every day. I need me that lithium. Otherwise, every 2 years or so, I think I'm Jesus Christ, which is not a sustainable way to maintain a comedy career. Or as it turns out, a viable credit score. Why? Because Messiah don't give a fuck about paying his bills on time. He got shit to do. He don't care if his shit goes into default, he be Messiah. So in this one particular instance, I gotta say, fuck the indigenous people of Bolivia. And their inherent right to benefit off of their own natural resources. Fuck 'em. I can't have the democratically elected socialist leader of Bolivia nationalizing all the lithium, keeping it out of the grabby hands of the U.S. imperialist piggy pigs. Give me that lithium. Otherwise, I don't know. I'm gonna have to be cracking open iPhones and swallowing the batteries. Oh, look at John. What's he doing? He's running down the road trying to catch up with a Tesla so he can wrap his lips around the tailpipe and suck out the precious metals. Oh, come to think of it, Teslas are electric cars. They don't even have tailpipes. Looks like John's gonna have to find himself the Energizer Bunny. Remember the Energizer Bunny? And then I'm just gonna have to gently plug my penis inside the Energizer Bunny's electrical socket butthole and get charged up. Charge me up, Bunny. Charge me up, Bunny. Oh, this part of the joke's real weird. So it only works like 50% of the time, you know? This not being one of those times. And I'm just stuck up here just like fucking an imaginary bunny from behind, just silence. You know what I mean? But sometimes that's what comedy is.
Elon Musk.
You know what? Fuck you, Elon Musk, for that shit. Elon Musk is like a conquistador of the global south for their minerals and resources. But somehow we think he's like the cool, richest guy in the world. And thank you for saying that, because I had no way to get out of my joke. But that worked as a good laugh line and an applause line. So thank you on that. And I'm John F. O'Donnell. Thank you guys.
John F. O'Donnell, that was great. And so he's missing from Redacted tonight, and so is Jaffer Khan, and so is Lee Camp. Those other two will be on a little later, and so is my good friend, one of the greatest journalists of our time. And that is Afshin Ratanzi. You know who he is?
Yeah.
Give him a nice big round of applause for all the great work he does. Amazing. They don't classify MSNBC or CNN or Fox as U.S. government-controlled news agencies, but they are, seriously, right? Whether indirectly or directly. I mean, Operation Mockingbird is still alive and well. Yeah. And somebody said, well, I think, John, that all of these correspondents are going to lose their job. I can tell you that those at Wolf Blitzer will not lose his job. He will continue to be there. Or Ken Delanian, or any of those other fake journalists, they will not lose their jobs, okay? Neither will Chuck Todd, neither will Jake Tapper. They will continue because they go along to get along, and that's what it's all about, all right? Julian Assange, these guys all together are not a patch on his ass as a journalist. Am I right?
Yeah.
I was watching 2 nights ago the movie Spartacus, and the one moment that really struck me, Spartacus going against what was, you know, back then the U.S. government, which was the Roman Empire, against Marcus Crassus, and they lost. And then when they tried to find out who the one guy was who inspired all of these people, Spartacus, they rounded up all of the prisoners and they said, "Who is Spartacus?" And then one after another said, "I am Spartacus. I am Spartacus." So today, who is the one guy? Julian Assange. I'm going to ask everybody, beginning with you, Chuck. Who is the leader? Who is Julian Assange? I want you to start it, and I want everyone to say that we are Julian Assange. So who is Julian Assange that we're going after, Chuck?
I am Julian Assange.
Who is Julian Assange?
I am Julian Assange.
Everybody. Thank you. I didn't hear from you.
Come on, Steve.
Steve, you're not working with CNN, are you? Steve Jones.
Good going, Steve. Yeah.
All right, so right now we're going to bring up some wonderful music tonight. Eleanor Goldfield was here at our last event and knocked the place out. She really did. Who was here for that night? She's an award-winning documentarian. She is a fantastic singer, and she is here tonight. Would you please welcome Eleanor Goldfield? Give her a big round of applause.
Thank you. Oh, give me 1 second. Well, all right. Hold on. Hold, please.
We're not going anywhere.
I know, yeah. I just feel like I gotta fill the time somehow. So, for all those who were here last time, y'all are about to hear the same 3 songs. Because I got a 4-month-old and a shit ton of boxes, shit ton of moving boxes at home. So my ass has not picked up this guitar since the last time I was here. So it's gonna be a little rusty, but we're gonna get through it together. And last time, I asked y'all to sing along. And this time, I feel like I'm gonna need it a little bit more. So let's all sing along in solidarity. This first song, and don't worry, I'm not asking you to sing along to like only my songs, because that'd be a dick move. This first song, Tom Petty. Anybody know Tom Petty? Woo! All right. So this song is dedicated to everybody who fights this fight, and really fights any fight against U.S. empire, the largest empire that the world has ever seen. Well, inspiration for that. Well, I won't back down. No, I won't back down. Well, you can stand me up at the gates of heaven, but I won't back down. I'm gonna stand my ground. I won't be turned around. Gonna keep this world from dragging us down. Gonna stand my ground, and I won't back down. Hey, baby, ain't no easy way out. Hey, I wanna stand my ground, and I won't back down. Well, I know what's right. Yeah, I got just one life. In a world that keeps on pushing us around, I'm gonna stand my ground, and I won't back down. Hey, baby, there ain't no easy way out. Hey, we'll stand my ground, and I won't back down. No, I won't back down.
Yeah. Didn't hear y'all singing along, so I'm gonna call on you again in the last song, but not this song because it's mine. Again, I'm not gonna be a dick and ask you to sing along to my song, unless you can, in which case, wow, you just make my day. So, shameless self-promotion. Oh, duh. Shameless self-promotion. This song is off of my new EP, which you can find on my website, artkillingapathy.com. Or if you sign up for Lee Camp's Patreon at at patreon.com/Lee Camp for $25 or more, you'll get a vinyl of this EP. You know, because Lee Camp had to start a Patreon because the US government shut down his show. I stand a pile of bricks at my feet. Build me a road
I was searching for something to see. But who's got the time to slip this somewhere in my eyes? Well, 'cause the hours of days and the days we've come to this place. Well, the world's on fire, and I'm gonna stay where it burns. We built this pyre, and I'm gonna stay where it burns. What would it take to stand right here where it burns? Do you remember the time we stood here and drew that line? Well, now it's past, we're fast forward behind. How much the fire, I can feel this burning in my mind. Just what do you live for if they're dying to kill for a time? Well, the world's on fire, but I'm gonna stand where it burns. We built this pyre, I'm gonna stay where it burns. What would it take to stand right here where it burns? As long as it takes, I'm gonna stay where it burns. All right. Who here hates fascists? Really? I just got a woo? Like, oh, I kind of hate fascists. You know, depends. All right, well, that's awkward, but okay. Well, then this song may or may not be for you. Well, I'll tell all you fascists you may be surprised, 'cause the people around this world are getting organized. You're bound to lose. Hey, all you fascists, you know you're bound to lose. Hey, all you fascists. Hey, all you fascists. Hey, all you fascists, you're bound to lose. You're bound to lose. Feel free to sing along. Well, tell all you fascists you may be surprised, 'cause people around this world are getting organized. You're bound to lose. Hey, fascists, you know you're bound to lose. Hey, all you fascists. Hey, all you fascists. Hey, all you fascists, you're bound to lose. You're bound to lose. People in this world are marching side by side, marching in the streets where a million fascists die. You're bound to lose. Hey, fascists, you know you're bound to lose. Hey, all you fascists. Hey, all you fascists. Hey, all you fascists, you're bound to lose. You're bound to lose. All right, you guys, come on. It's feeling lonely up here. Hey, all you fascists. Hey, all you fascists. Hey, all you fascists, you're bound to lose. You're bound to lose. One more time. Hey, all you fascists. Hey, all you fascists. Hey, all you fascists, you're bound to lose.
Jones. Steve Jones, give him a round of applause. Steve Jones has been with us at every one of these events. You know who's not here tonight? You know, I've been doing this show, Assange Countdown to Freedom, for 5 years. It also began April 11th. As I said earlier, I'm getting old. I'm a AAA kid. My family, my lineage, AAA. It's alcoholism, it's arthritis, and Alzheimer's. So if I repeat myself, hi, I'm Randy, I'm an alcoholic. All right. It's a 2:45. Yes. You're good, man. You're good. Steve Jones. All right. Would you please see if this guy is still breathing next to you? Steve Brown, I want to tell you something. Rescued Assange Countdown to Freedom in 2020 because I am the worst fundraiser in the world. I would never be hired by the Salvation Army because I cannot raise fucking money. I just can't say, I can't do it. But when we were going under, Steve Brown came through and we got some great volunteers. And one of them who couldn't make it tonight is my engineer and editor, Kelly Lane. She got very sick. She was coming up today. And she couldn't make it. So a shout out to you, Kelly Lane, for all the hard work that you've done to keep this going. That being said, again, tomorrow at 10 a.m. in the morning, it's important. Tell your friends to show up at the U.S. Lackey Government Council of the UK government. You know, Major Strasser has told them that they got to continue the fight to squelch the First Amendment. The UK government, so they are totally on board with whatever they say here in the U.S. to try to keep Julian Assange from, what are they afraid of? One guy they're afraid of. One individual. You go to the city, you know, you show up at Union Station and you see hundreds of people sleeping on the sidewalk or on a bench there. There's tens of thousands of people homeless in this city, 75,000 in New York City. They don't have money for that.
No.
But they have hundreds of millions of dollars to try to kill Julian Assange. All right, that's where, if they would stop the prosecution, take that money and put it into the homeless problem in this country, we could solve it. But that's more important to them, that they not allow Julian Assange to speak. Really, that's what this is all about. And I want to thank everybody here tonight for being here, and I want to thank everybody for speaking out. I'm going to bring up right now someone who had the most incredible show about 2 months ago, right after, I forgot there's so many epics in the Julian Assange, what you call the Kafka-esque show trial. And Katie Halper did a great show along with Marianne Williamson and Brianna, Joey Gray. They put this great show together, and I'm just very honored to be part of it on that one particular day. And she's been on it, and we're doing this right now on Katie. You know, I was going to put on my YouTube account. I said, I only have 1,000 subscribers. She's got like 67,000. I said, as many people. Of course, I might pick up some new subscribers, but it's not about me. It's about getting the fucking message out there. And Katie had the vehicle to do it, and she's been really on top of this issue. You know her from Useful Idiots with Matt Taibbi, sometimes with Aaron Mate, and sometimes with, I don't know, if you rotate your co-hosts, but. She's here today, and she's going to come up here and talk about the situation, and she's going to bring up my favorite presidential candidate of all time afterwards. Would you please welcome the wonderful, dog-loving Katie Halper.
Hi everyone. I feel kind of awkward stepping on Julian Assange's face. like enough has been done.
I'm going to do it right now. How about his name?
Sure. It's a metaphor. Hi everyone, how's everyone doing? It's great to be here in DC. I feel like I have a special place in my heart for Washington DC. So just to get where I'm really from out of the way, I'm from New York City. I'm the product of a mixed marriage. My mom is Bronxian, my dad is Queensian, and they were both part of the great Jewish migration from the outer boroughs into Manhattan's Upper West Side. Okay, I can't tell if they're non-New Yorkers or anti-Semites in the crowd. But either way, all right. Yeah, they were searching for a better life as close to Zabar's as possible, and they found it. But I did grow up hearing a lot of stories about Washington, D.C. because my parents, well, my mom would tell me stories about the anti-war movement, about the civil rights movement. Like instead of lullabies, they would tell me those stories, which would effectively put me to sleep, so they worked well. But I didn't really understand them. So my mom used to tell me about how she went to the March on Washington, and I thought she visited a friend who was a king named Martin Luther, and that he had a dream that he told her about the next day. Like that's really, despite how funny that punchline is, that's actually true. I'm not making a joke. That's actually true. That's really what I thought. But my mom did not have a sleepover with Martin Luther King.
Many people did, but
Well,
sorry.
although lots of women
I
did.
told us
It's
not to
true.
say anything, but
Yeah, it's true. Lots of women did have. It's okay. It's not too soon. There's been a FOIA about it. But my mom did come close to dating another civil rights hero. He doesn't have quite as much cred as MLK, but my mom did briefly date Marion Barry. Yeah, who would, later become a mayor of Washington, D.C. before being forced to step down amidst a crack cocaine prostitution scandal. Like, you haven't been there? The great part of that story, though, is that he got his job back again, which is the American dream. But they met during the civil rights movement. I always say that of all the SNCC meetings and all the cities in the world, she had to walk into his. That's the grown one? It's literally the most wholesome joke ever. He went to a meeting for the Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee. You guys are like, wow. Really, Katie? Sorry, John, I need you here to make some jokes about, like, fornicating with a Tesla battery or something. So people feel more comfortable. All right, let's see. Anyway, if your mom dates someone like Marion Barry, it's not like that useful. If your mom dates someone like Martin Luther King, then whenever you're mad at your dad, you can be like, "You're not my father. Martin Luther King is my father." But it doesn't work with Marion Barry, as I learned the hard way. But yeah, so my parents, we are from the Upper West Side, as I mentioned before, to uproarious laughter that you may not remember because that's how loud it was. You have now a kind of PTSD from it, and it's knocked your memory out. But it's true. My parents, we're Jewish, but like we're not religious Jews. So I grew up not celebrating any Jewish holidays except for Passover, which I thought was the black holiday, like Kwanzaa, but a lot older because my family like starts with the whole Jews in Egypt thing, but then spends most of the Seder talking about the civil rights movement and then ending on, of course, the Israeli-Palestinian conflict.
Yeah, there you go.
But it is interesting. How many of you guys know like secular Jews? Right. The rest of you know and you just don't realize it. So I had a Puerto Rican boyfriend a couple of years ago, and he was telling his dad that he had a new girlfriend. The dad was like, "Oh, nice, Puerto Rican?" And my boyfriend at the time was like, "No." And the dad was like, "Dominican?" He was like, "No." It's like, "Italian?" "No." "What is she?" "Jewish." And the dad says, "Jewish or Woody Allen Jewish?" It actually perfectly captures like it was a real nuanced understanding of Jewish identity. Meaning basically culturally Jewish. But it's kind of an awkward person to have as your like standard. You don't really want to go there, right? Because it's like, I don't know if to spell it out, but you don't want like a prolific pedophile to be your go-to person. Thank you. But were you guys upset when you learned that about Woody Allen? Like, I can barely enjoy this film now, right? It reminds me of how upset I was when I learned about Lenny Riefenstahl's politics. Like, I can no longer enjoy trying to do well. All right, so what else? All right, let's get to real politics. Real politique. How about John Mearsheimer? All right, that was just that was like an off the cuff real politique joke. All right, the sad thing is this is going on my channel.
I just switched it to my channel.
Good, please, yeah. This is good. Maybe this will be a Patreon only. By the way, please subscribe to patreon.com/the Katie Hopper Show. And then, I don't know, I'll play something else instead of this. I'll cut myself out, but everyone else will be in it. I told you I'm Jewish, so I'm very self-deprecating. You guys are like, no, it's actually appropriately deprecating. So it's just observational humor. But what's the deal with, by the way, what is the deal with everyone who's like evil getting praised? So basically, if you're good, like John Kiriakou, you're punished for being a whistleblower. Same thing with Julian Assange, but if you're like a torturer, or the people in the collateral murder video, you face no justice.
Right.
Like, did you guys see Condoleezza Rice lately on Fox News, where she condemned Putin for violating the sovereignty of an independent country? It's like, why did she condemn it? Is she mad because she wanted to do it again? She's like jealous. And then Bush, of course, is a hero again. I do like the dynamic between Bush and Condi. It was cute. She was like his tutor. Like, she made him like Iran, Iraq flashcards so he could tell the difference between the countries. And like, I think it was really hard for him because he just mastered like the U after Q rule, and then he had to constantly deal with the one country that violates that rule. But I'm surprised that Joe Biden isn't more sympathetic to Julian Assange. I don't know about the rest of you, but I am surprised because I thought he'd have more empathy for him because like he understands what it's like to be locked up. Because of course he was arrested when he tried to visit Nelson Mandela in jail. And like he should get what it's like to not see daylight for days and days because of his toiling underground as a miner.
Right.
And he should also understand the bravery required of Julian Assange, who refuses to back down in the face of overwhelming odds and state power and corporate power, right? And he gets that because he, of course, refused to back down in the face of Corn Pop. Really bad dude, who he met during his activism and civil rights movement, by which we mean he was a lifeguard. That was his MLK moment, was being a lifeguard. But honestly, Joe, if you're watching, and I know you are, because you're a huge fan of my channel. He's actually a sub. Joe, if you're watching, please like the stream. But if you're watching, seriously, do the right thing. This is embarrassing. Donald Trump went after Assange. Your guy Obama, the constitutional lawyer, I know you guys are going to like throw up in your mouths, and stop, sorry, especially you, but like, just let's say for argument's sake, for the libs out there, you guys like that guy Obama. He's supposed to be like wise. He's supposed to be an intellectual guy. He takes the Constitution seriously, and he realized he couldn't go after Assange because of the New York Times problem, by which he meant more or less, if it was so criminal for Assange to publish it, it was obviously criminal for the New York Times to publish it, the Washington Post, the Spiegel, País, etc., etc. So, Biden, just so you can go to your dinner parties and pretend to be this good guy, why don't you not do the thing that Trump did? Why don't you side with Barack Obama? And free Assange, because it's the right thing to do, and you should be on the right side of history.
That's right.
And everyone should be up in arms about this. If you were up in arms about this when Trump did it, which you should have been, because apparently people cared about the Fourth Estate then, and you should still care about it now. So free the press and free Julian Assange. And now.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you. All right.
That's an applause line, folks.
Thanks. Yeah. I'm good. So I'm bringing up to the stage someone who barely needs any introduction, but she is a very inspiring person. She is also happens to be a good friend of mine, but even if she weren't a good friend of mine, I would really be excited to bring her up. She ran for president. She speaks truth to power. She's been very vocal on several issues, including the war in Yemen. Marianne Williamson.
Hello, everybody. I'm honored to be here. Very moved by you, particularly, John John Kiriakou, really, truly an honor to be here with you and to hear your
The
words.
honor's mine.
Thank you. They went straight to the heart and were such a truly stunning description of the issues that are involved here. We must reclaim any sense of national conscience. And to be in the presence of someone like John, who has really paid such a sacrifice in order to make a stand for that. And I think what John was asking all of us to do is something that we need to think about very seriously. It seems to me that the Julian Assange case, the situation is stuck. It's stuck because at this point, Biden thinks he's got it handled. We don't make enough noise to really be an inconvenience. And until we make enough noise to be a political inconvenience to Merrick Garland or Joe Biden, nothing is going to change. So I really want to reiterate what John was saying, what Randy said, whether it's tomorrow, whether it's at the, it is only to be assumed will happen, trial in the Eastern District of Virginia. Each of us must do what we can to make more noise. It's a very focused laser beam type thing, and that is, as I said, inconveniencing politically Garland and Biden, and that's simply by making enough noise. All of us, the very fact that we're here means we're already on the case. But at this point, each of us needs to use whatever platform we have, whether it's our Twitter, whether it is our Facebook, whether it's our Instagram, whether it's our friends, to continue to have the conversation that the establishment has been successful at nullifying. It's really quite extraordinary that the Jake Tappers, that the Chuck Todds, and that the Joe Bidens are out there talking about war crimes done by Vladimir Putin. Not that he hasn't, and not that I'm minimizing them, but it was war crimes done by the US military machine that were revealed by Julian Assange. And that's what so often gets lost here, is what this man was revealing. This was torture. These were atrocities. And as we know, these were murders. These were murders of people, some of whom were mentally ill, many of whom were men trying to get their women to the hospital in order to deliver their babies. And they mistakenly got too close to checkpoints. They didn't even know exactly what they were doing. The classification system was never intended to be something that the US government could use simply because information was inconvenient to have revealed. In order for a document to be classified legally, the government needs to be able to prove that this is classified because it would be a danger to US security for this information to be revealed. But now, millions of documents every year are classified for no other reason than the government does not want us to know what's in them. And it takes people like John Kiriakou and Julian Assange to say, the government might not want you to know, but you must know, or there is no greater threat to the security of the United States than that we take that route to police state and government secrecy. John, and to be talking about Julian, I think it's important for all of us to ask ourselves, given what they have done, what can we do? And I think that it's so interesting because what the system has been able to do, we're talking here about our need to inconvenience the system, but they've created a situation where we're considered the social inconvenience to bring it up. Are you going to bring up Julian Assange again? We're at dinner. We're having a dinner party. Are you really going to bring up Julian Assange again? I think particularly, if I may say so, I think it's particularly difficult for a woman when they start rolling their eyes and, oh, are you talking about that again? We know how you are. It's so important on a night like tonight that we commit to ourselves that next time somebody says, oh my God, are you going to talk about Julian Assange again? Please respond by saying, have you heard the one about Julian Assange? Have you heard the one about Julian Assange? Do you know that it has absolutely nothing to do with Hillary Clinton's emails? Do you know that this was in 2010? It was way before anything with Hillary Clinton's emails. Do you know that this has to do with murders? Do you know that this has to do with atrocities? Do you know that this has to do with torture? Do you know what this means that the government can shut stuff up like this? Do you know what it means that the U.S. government does cover for the U.S. Defense Department when it is perpetrating atrocities like this? And do you know what it means about us as people that we refuse to shut up about it? And then if they say, oh my God, do we we have to talk about this one more time? All I can ask you, all of us, is please that we leave here tonight committed. Damn right, we're gonna talk about it one more time. And
That was powerful. Marianne Williamson, give her a round of applause. I'm following you like a Monty Hall. That great or what? Once again, Marianne Williamson. You can see why they pushed her off the debates in 2020. We can't have her up there talking. But we're behind you. I don't know if you're running for office again, but people should get behind you. If you do, I know we may get some support from the People's Party. I know Nick Cronin is here tonight. We need a voice like that speaking nationally. Thank you. And it took a lot of guts and a lot of courage to do what you did in 2020 during those debates. Nobody, even Bernie Sanders, was saying, boy, she's way out there on the other side. She's too far to the left. I can't talk like this about Julian Assange. We'll leave it to her, and then, I got to consider my position as the head of some committee. I've got a committee. I'm almost 80 years old. Why should I not sell out now? I'm serious. I saw you in 2020. I said, wow, where did she come from? And the Department of Peace, she comes up with this idea. What a great idea. Marianne Williamson said if she were president, she would, not the Department of Defense, which is the Department of War, is what it is. It was the Department of Peace. What a great idea that is. And let's think about that. And once again, give her another big round of applause. And to Katie Halper. When Katie Halper, usually you take her off as an MC. I said, Katie, you bring up Marianne Williamson because you know her really well. But the right thing to do was to bring you up and then take you off and give you a big round of applause. So that was very self-sacrificing. Thank you very much. Once again, Katie Halper. We are on her channel on YouTube. All right, so we have, we're continuing. The bar is still open. Please keep this place open. I want to thank once again the Tavern Inn because, they're going to take heat for this. This is an employee-owned institution. It really is. And I must acknowledge Fritzy Cohen, who is the matriarch here. I came here with Sam Husseini, who didn't show up tonight because he didn't have a mask. And that was thick enough. Hi, Sam, I know you're watching. But he brought me here like 4 months ago. We were looking for a place to do this stand-up for Assange, and he brought me here, and Fritzy said, yes. Of course, and then Dave Ruby, who's the general manager and one of the great individuals that I've met in my lifetime, he's back there pacing.
Dave.
Because there are a couple of crazies who tried to sneak in tonight. Dave has got it. He's got it all set. And thank you, Dave, for all that you've done in support of this and all the employees here who are owners. This is can you imagine this beautiful historic hotel and restaurant and inn is employee owned? This should be the role model for every place across the country. This is a winner. And I just want to tip my hat to the Amazon Workers Union for that historic victory. You know what Solidarity now? The one that Pete Seeger sang? Solidarity Forever? Yeah, of course he does. Solidarity forever. Solidarity forever. The union marches strong. Who knows the words? Julian Assange has been working forever as the union head in New York City of the Postal Workers Union, and they just got finally something very big, and even Chuck Schumer supported it. So you got everybody to support it, and so there cannot be. What is it, Chuck? Is it,
Postal Service Reform Act of 2022 was signed into law passed Wednesday, and it only took us 16 years to get it passed.
Congratulations, Chuck. I know you've been working on it for a long time. All right, so we're going to keep that. We still have Lee Camp. We still have Medea Benjamin coming up. We still have Margaret Ratner Kunstler coming up. We still have Lucy Murphy coming up, and probably somebody else. But and I'm going to announce the event tomorrow morning in front of the British consulate, one of the U.S.'s great colonies, the British consulate. They should have an Old Glory at the top of that consulate. That's coming up tomorrow at 10 and then at 2 o'clock in front of the Department of Injustice. All right. So we're going to bring up. We got to get some laughs here. We still have a couple more comedians, so let's have a good time. This is another individual that's now no longer with RT since they were censored and thrown off the air during this new, what is really, they had it in 1919, they had their first Red Scare, and they had it in the 50s, there's the second Red Scare, and the McCarthyism. It's like Russia's no longer the Soviet Union, but we have a third Red Scare going on, and the victims have been stations like RT that give a different point of view, and one of the great the correct one. You can see, yes, you're right. All right, I kind of like, I know, I middled that. All right, I middled that for the CIA that's in the back of the room, writing down my resume. All right. Remember, I used to do my acting for the U.S. Embassy in '86, '87, '88 in Nicaragua. The only great crowd I ever had. 7 o'clock in the morning after drinking bootleg Florida cognac and having to entertain all the peace groups there. All right, they're the only ones who understood my impression of General Singalot. Nobody knows, only you, Chuck, who General Singalot was. And Elliot Abrams, who changed his name to Tony Blinken. All right, so we're going to bring up right now, really, he's been at every one of these events, and he's a tremendous political satirist. Would you please welcome Jaffer Cobb?
Who's ready to laugh? Huh? Thanks, Randy, for that intro. RT intro. This next guy is unemployed as shit. Just got laid off. It's fine. I'm not bitter about it. This is it's good to be here. Give a round of applause to yourselves for coming out. This is great. I'm always genuinely very honored to be here and a part of these amazing lineups. This is the model minority part of the show. Y'all remember that in the 90s? They would call every Asian person in America a model minority. How racist was that to other minorities, right? Just like that, the racism in the U.S. is very advanced, right? It's very nuanced. That's mind-blowing. Then it's like, look, if you gotta be a minority in this country, if you have to be a minority, do it with some grace, all right? Do it like them. Look at them. They study. They're quiet. They don't talk during the movies. Who's ready to laugh, huh? Yeah? I don't know. You know? I was a model minority. I'm Pakistani. I was a model minority until around 9/11. That went out the window real quick. They were like, oh, this is not model minority behavior. I was like, you're right. I'm sorry. Take me off the list, put me on the new list. I'll go on that list. Yeah. I remember after 9/11, I was like in 7th grade, and there was this kid who didn't like me, so he was trying to hurt my feelings. And he was like, your people did this to us. And before I could say anything, my buddy Phil jumped in. Phil was like, actually, Jafar is from Pakistan. His country had nothing to do with 9/11. And then I had to jump in like, actually... Osama bin Laden gets all the credit. What was he? He was just an investor. That's all he was. He was just a financier of vengeance. The man, y'all know who's the man credited with the architect of 9/11? Khalid Sheikh Mohammed, currently in Guantanamo Bay. A Pakistani man. So let's give credit where credit is due, okay? We're out here, we're making moves, we're doing stuff. We're model minorities. We're making a difference. Look, Muslims, we're not terrorists because there's actually no such thing as a terrorist, which I know sounds like something a terrorist would say, but look, y'all know what I mean. I don't have to explain it to this audience. The word terrorist, it's a political term. Every country in the world, their enemies are terrorists. They're never terrorists. We're never terrorists, right? And the UN has always struggled trying to come up with an actual, specific, precise definition for terrorism. Probably because every time they come up with one, the CIA is just like, that's not going to work for us. Awkward. We don't want people bringing up, Guatemala or Brazil or Venezuela or Cuba or Libya or Iran or Lebanon or Iraq or Afghanistan or Sudan or Somalia or JFK or... Who said JFK? You said JFK. Don't bring up JFK. Please. Sorry. Don't do that. Weird that you said that. The only way the UN could come up with a definition for terrorism that the US would be excited about, it would have to be extremely specific, right? It would have to be look, here at the UN, we condemn terrorism, obviously, and terrorism is, like we all know, anytime, anyone, anywhere, anytime, anywhere, 19 dudes who don't eat pork or drink beer, board a plane, planes, very important for terrorists. No, not fighter jets, those are cool. Commercial airlines, write this down. Anytime 19 dudes who pray 5 times a day, book United on a Tuesday, Philly 747. And I know this is where the laughter dies down. Audiences at this point are just like, this brown guy knows a lot about 9/11. That's kind of my vibe. I'm the 9/11 guy. That's what I'm trying to do. And just for the record, know that this is the tame version of me. All right, this is me. People don't know who I am, so I gotta kind of warm people up. But one day I'm gonna be famous, okay? And when I'm famous, my comedy will be free and liberated and insufferable, okay? I will have the lowest Rotten Tomato rating of all time. Just confused reviews. Just I guess it was comedy, but he did a 10-minute bit on the application process to ISIS, and it was alarmingly detailed. Yes, I like to have frightening comedy. Recently we had a real low moment in our war on terror, which I really enjoyed. We recently killed the newest leader of ISIS, and it makes sense. I remember waking up that morning, just why do I feel so safe? Is it working? Biden came up and did his he got to do his big Serious Joe press conference, dramatic press, Serious Time America Joe time, and he did this dramatic press conference, and no one gave a shit. It was beautiful. I love it. There's people out there who like Joe Biden, but every citizen of this country has to admit that man cannot read a room, right? That's not his strong suit, public speaking. It's unfortunate. He gave this dramatic press conference. I understand why he was excited for the press conference, right? He was thinking about Obama. Remember Obama's press conference? He got to be oh, we got Osama. Everyone was happy, cheered. Even Trump got to be we got Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi, right? OG leader of ISIS. This new leader of ISIS, I don't even know the guy's name, okay? I don't know his name, and I know Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi, right? I know my shit, I show love, right? Y'all know that about me. I'm pretty sure Joe Biden didn't even know this fucking guy's name, okay? I watched the entire press conference. He didn't say his name a single time. He just kept calling him like a coward and a dog. He's like, we got America, don't worry, Squiddy Adjo here, being serious. We got the coward, we got the dog, Courage the Cowardly Dog. That's what I call him. That's what I call him. Well, of course I know. Of course Joe knows his name. What's his name? Abu Baba, Boo Boo, Aziz. I'm sorry. Look, the point is that we got America. The guy that you didn't know was alive is no longer alive. So you can sleep soundly because Joe's on the case. And his wife was like, who are you talking to, Joe? We're at lunch right now. Ba-dum-bum-ba-dum-bum. All right, that's comedy. I think that's comedy. We're doing a new, we're doing a war on domestic terrorism now, aka a war on white people terrorism. Which, you know, before it was a war on Muslim terrorism. Let's recap that real quick. That was led to the murder of over 1 million people, the destabilization of the Middle East, which led to a refugee crisis, which in turn led to a rise of anti-migrant racist sentiment around the world, which in turn is fueling a rise of neo-fascism, which we're all dealing with today. And in 8th grade, me and my friends went to school dressed as ninjas, and the police officer sent me to the office because he thought I was dressed as Al-Qaeda on Dress Like Your Superhero Day. Yeah, you can laugh at that. Some parts of the war on terror are kind of lighthearted, and that was one of the funnier parts. But look, that was a war on Muslim terror. Okay, now we're in a war on domestic terror. I don't know. I don't really see a war. Look, I'm seeing more of a kerfuffle on domestic terrorism. And look, I'm Muslim. I'm petty. I want to see a war. All right, I'll be honest. Where's the war? Where's the war? Show me a war. I want to see. Here's what I want to see. I want to see two of these insurrectionists. We found out that they got family from Poland, so our government bombs the fuck out of France. Right? That's what I want to see. I want to see some consistency. Okay? I want to see a panel on CNN where the topic of discussion is Southern baptism really a religion of peace? On our panel today, we have Reza Aslan, Rashid Khalidi, and Jafar Khan. I got thoughts on Southern baptism. Before, I wanted to see Guantanamo Bay shut down forever. I'm against torture. Not anymore. Repurpose it. Repurpose it. Get the brown terrorists out, white terrorists in. No shoes allowed inside. That is torture for white people. That'll be the first rule. I want to see. I want to see a white kid get in trouble for dressing like a terrorist on Dress Like a Superhero Day. He's going to the office all pissed off, like, I'm not an insurrectionist. I just like wearing camo. God. I mean, I know, you know I'm joking. We all know the war on domestic terrorism. It's not a good thing. But thankfully, no one really gives a shit. No one's excited about it. There's only one group of people excited about the war on domestic terror, and that is white liberals. God damn, dude. Anytime on the news they call a white person a terrorist, white liberal, they cream their pants. They get so happy. They're like, yes, we're terrorists too. Hello. Come get us. My dad going for Trump. Arrest him, FBI. Dude, white liberal women, they've all cut ties to the Republican dads. They don't talk to them anymore. It's like, talk to your dad, all right? He raised you, he loves you, he co-signed your lease. It's the least you can do, dude. I don't know what's happening with white people, and they're like, the last insurrectionist that got arrested, his son snitched on him. Yeah. That's how we got, and people applauded that? That's tragic, okay? My dad is a Muslim Republican. He's a psycho. He's a devout Muslim Republican. He might do a fucking jihad against Biden, but I would never rat out my dad. Okay, I love my dad. He raised me. What has happened to the white family structure in this country that they're ratting out their own damn parents? It's tragic. To me, it just shows that Bernie Mac was right. Okay, white people, you gotta beat your kids. White folk, beat your damn kids, all right? They're out here ratting out their own family. It's a damn shame. But here's where I would normally end the bit with, like, for normal audiences, I'm like, but on a serious note, white people, don't trust the FBI. I know it's your culture, but I know y'all don't need to hear that. So I'll just say this. You have heard and you will hear people much smarter and better equipped than me say, great things about this cause. So I don't really have much to add to that, but this is a cause we should all be supporting, and I'm really glad we're all here and that this is happening, and I'm happy to be a part of it. So thank you, everyone.
What about Jefferson? Everybody having a good time tonight? We are here to free Julian Assange, right? I hope people will join Comrade Misty. And Ulysses S. Grant here. Or General Longstreet. I don't know. Great beard. You don't need a mask. You got that beard. No, I want to talk to you. I want to bust your balls. He and I bust each other's balls for the last couple of months. This is Dave Ruby, who's the general manager. All right, Dave! And one of the owners of this place, because of Fritzy Cohen, that this gentleman has made in his pack all the time. And this is the place, if you are supporting Julian Assange, this is the ground zero. We're going to be working out of here. And Gabriel Shipton, Julian's brother, will be back here. He will be staying here, and so will Julian's father, John Shipton, be staying here because they know the commitment. Fritzy Cohen over there. I know you want me to sing Jimmy Cagney, but you know, I can't. Because you're the only one that knows.
Let me ask you this.
Yes.
Who is ready to sign up for a jihad against?
Somebody's got some petition, I think. Paula, do you have a petition?
Davis is a fan.
Paula, do you have a petition? A jihad against what?
A jihad.
I don't want to say that here. They'll find a way to like throw me in with bin Laden, and I'll be in prison for 20 fucking years in Guantanamo. Remember the words of Jesse?
We're supposed to have free people.
Let her say
I'm
it.
talking about a jihad. I mean, I'm not talking about a specific group of people who have been accused of doing jihad.
I think that was Keith.
Oh.
That was Keith in the back.
But what I'm saying is this, is that we need...
Yeah. Yeah, let her finish what she has to say. I don't censor anybody, especially the one that let us do this here tonight in the last 4 events. It's Fritzy
I'm
Cohen.
not suggesting that jihadists have just gotten a bad name, but I'm saying is that maybe that's something that we people who need to protect the First Amendment need to form something, maybe we can call it something different, to go after the real fascists in this country who are against Julian, and they're in our government, you know, and we
You just want to finish the show?
No.
Did she finish her speech?
Yes, would you stop it? She and I have a good rapport,
I
okay?
know. Anyway, but you know, I am who I am.
And that's what Popeye said.
I
Oh, and I am just what I am.
No, I agree with you, Fritzy. I think that we should.
know. There may be a better way of saying it.
Yes.
I think you
All
should
right.
well, actually.
But people would, you know, but
Are you her PR person?
Yeah, sure.
Let her talk, all right?
I haven't heard it
Well, that's
deposit.
because you haven't had 5 drinks like tonight. All right, so please.
one of the biggest outrages of
Dude.
this.
I'm joking, please. I'm a comic. I used to be. I've lost my sense of humor. All right, Fritzy. All right, you're going to have a debate with me. All right, so what?
All right, I'm through. But
All right, we'll talk about it later, Fritzy. We're going to have an open mic when the show's over. Anybody can get up here and say what they want. It's going to be like, what do you
blame it
call it?
on Jaffer. He encouraged.
Do you like him?
Oh, I do. Yeah.
Did you-
He encouraged me to speak out.
Yeah,
that's-
but apparently that was not correct.
All right. Do you want her as your sidekick?
Correct for us to speak out.
All right. Always nice to have a chorus if they sing in tune. All right. How you doing, brother? You're the best. Steve Jones, once again. All right. We are here tonight for Julian Assange. We are here tomorrow once again, 10 in the morning. I'll be there in front of the... Where is that, Comrade Misty?
British Embassy.
I know that, but where is it?
3100 Massachusetts Avenue.
I thought it was inside the White House. All right, so it's 3100 Massachusetts Avenue. And then at 2 o'clock in front of Merrick Garland, who's sick right now, as if he wasn't already sick, but he's got physical ailments and he may not show up. All right? And then who else? And so you got a petition, Paula. I got to keep the comedy going here.
No, you're going. We're good.
All right, we're good. All right, we'll do it later. We still have a couple of acts, and then before we go, we have a wonderful singer at the end, Lucy Murphy. Before that, one of the great heroes legally of my lifetime for the last 50 years is the only one that I know who knows Julian Assange really well in this room, who's visited him 50 times and has been a legal advisor and saw him at Belmore's, and that's Margaret Ratner Kunstler. Give her a round of applause. We came all the way from New York City. All the way from New York City. We drove down this morning, and it was the first time where I didn't, off of 95, get off on the exit to the Baltimore airport. All right? If you listen to that Siri, go to the right, go to the left, and you end up, in Cleveland. All right, so I just followed the signs today and got here on time. So I don't need that fucking GPS anymore. I'm serious. Don't drive with that. I mean, Lewis and Clark made it all the way to Utah without a GPS. All right. Listen, you're gonna. Can you give her a cup of coffee? It's all.
It's just truth. Sorry.
Are
Is
you?
that a bad thing?
It's a bad thing that you're slowing down the show. All right. All right. It's okay. You can say what you want, but
therefore,
She's getting energy.
she.
second, don't be like Native Americans.
I love it, the fact that you're helping this place out at that bar. 13. Never mind. All right. All right, so one of the great activists that I've met in my lifetime, I met her through Tony Newman from way back up in San Francisco in the 80s. And she was, I think, she was like sitting in a tree. Were you sitting in a tree? Like in a redwood up there in Sequoia, where I used to go when I was a kid. And the greatest stunt that I've ever seen over the last 20 years was at the RNC convention in 2004 when Code Pink interrupted, was it Dick Cheney or who was it? It was Rotten. It was Rudy Giuliani, 5 years, 6 years, like his shoulders are now above his head. All right, I remember that. That was when George Bush was there. We're fighting against cicadas. America is fighting cicadas. I can only protect this country by hiding our freedom. We're fighting against cicadas. I used to do it, I started out doing Nixon in 1972. When I first started out 50 years ago as a comedian, it was Nixon. Then it was Ford, but it was really Kissinger. By the way, it's Kissinger's birthday on Thursday. He turned 700, so let's give him a. He turned 700, and there's no room. The reason why he hasn't died because there's no fucking room in hell for him. They have to build a parallel hell for Kissinger alone. And then it was Jim Akata was for 4 years, and he was all right. Then it was Reagan, and yes, he was there for the next whatever. And then after Reagan, it was George Bush Sr. We are not at war with the people of Iraq. We are at war with the Iraqi people. He did his Churchill speech when it was all over. Never have so few killed so many for so few that have so much. Thank you very much. And then it was Bill Clinton for 8 years, and he did what he did. He killed 500,000 people in Iraq with the sanctions and what he did with NATO. you have to know about NATO and Yugoslavia and all that shit. And then he got fucked by Amy Goodman, and he got all upset. My wife. All right, so he's gone. And then it was George Bush W. God bless America. America is the greatest nation in the land. He actually said that. Texas is 50th in the country in education, but we didn't drop back to 51 or 52. Stay in the top 50. All right. I'm not going to do the rest of them. All right, so coming up. And so this was a great event, and I love Medea for what she did at the Republican National Convention. She's going to bring up our headline comic, and so give her a big round of applause.
Yay!
Medea Israel.
Should I tell the one joke I know, which has nothing to do with politics? It's like a kid's joke. But you gotta laugh. Okay. It's the one where the bear and the rabbit are taking a crap in the forest, and the bear says to the rabbit, "You have any problem with shit sticking to your fur?" And the rabbit says, "No." So the bear grabs the rabbit and wipes his ass. Okay, now to Afghanistan. So I just came back from Afghanistan, and it really makes me think about Julian Assange, because I went to Afghanistan for the first time 20 years ago when the U.S. was bombing Afghanistan. Started out, the shock, and we were told that these were now, remember, precision bombs. Remember that? Yeah, these precision bombs. And that there weren't going to be civilian casualties. So I went over with a group of, there were 4 of us women, and we're Stafford. We went into Pakistan first. There we went into Peshawar. You know Peshawar? Yeah, it's a wild place. Went through the crazy mountains to get into Kabul and found these streams of civilians whose loved ones had just been killed by U.S. precision bombs. And we thought, what are we going to do about this? Kids who didn't have parents anymore, widows who had no money to feed their kids, people who were desperate to begin with, and now we're just totally impoverished, not a penny. So we went back to the United States, we went to the US government, we said, first of all, you gotta stop killing civilians, and second of all, the ones you killed, you gotta compensate them. So they said, you're crazy, these are precision bombs, we don't kill civilians. That was in the old days. Well, we fought, and finally, we had the Afghan War Diaries, thanks to WikiLeaks.
Thank you.
And what did the Afghan War Diaries show? First they released about 90,000 memos that showed thousands and thousands of civilian casualties. And then they released, maybe you wrote it, John, a CIA manual about how to convince the American public that this was actually a good war. And then they released documents about, the death by container. The younger ones here probably don't remember that, but this was when a bunch of Taliban, like thousands of them, surrendered. And they were put in these metal containers to transport them. And then they were either just suffocated to death, or they were shot at through the containers. And it could have been up to 2,000 prisoners of war. That's actually not allowed, prisoners of war. They even released, to show they were even-handed, memos from jihadists. There were like 1,000 handwritten memos that released by WikiLeaks. And so all of these materials in total were over 300,000 documents related to Afghanistan. It was amazing. Now for us, it helped us go to the American government and force them to create a compensation fund for Afghan victims. Now, we could talk about what was the life of an Afghan victim worth, because it wasn't worth very much according to the US government. But thanks to those Afghan war diaries, we could prove that there were thousands and thousands of civilian victims. But more important than that, it changed the perception of the Afghan war.
It changed perception from the Afghan war being the good war, and all we had to do was send in more troops, just another surge, and we could have won that war, to one that showed that it was indeed a quagmire, and we had to figure out how to get the hell out of there. And so we owe a lot to Julian Assange for helping us to understand what was really going on in Afghanistan, what our government was really doing in Afghanistan, for exposing all the lies of our government, exposing all the deaths. And now, I know we're not allowed to talk about Ukraine, but I'm only going to say it because the American people are caring about civilian deaths because they see it every day on the TV screens. And if we had a media that would have shown us all of the deaths in Afghanistan, we wouldn't have needed WikiLeaks to teach us what our government was doing. So back to Julian Assange. And now I want to bring up somebody who embodies both comedy and truth-telling. And I loved watching him on RT. And it's a terrible shame that RT is not the venue where we can see him right now. But we still have many ways to still watch Lee Camp, who makes us laugh, who teaches us, and love. Come on up,
It's an honor to share a stage with Medea, a woman who's been dragged out of more rooms by security than she's walked out of. Incredible. No, but seriously, it's so great to be on this stage with like heroes of mine. Randy Credico caused Russiagate. I don't know if you watched MSNBC, but he fucking did it. This is a man, he was the go-between between Julian Assange and Roger Stone! Rachel Maddow said so! This is a man who thinks phone apps is how you order appetizers from afar. And he caused Russiagate. This is the only, no, but seriously, the honor to share the stage with him, the only comedian to do Johnny Carson and lose gigs. Because he called the Secretary of State Eva Braun or something. So I'm not kidding. An honor to be on the stage with all these wonderful people for such an incredible cause, such an important cause, and it's great to be up here. I guess I'm now the most censored comedian in America who hasn't sexually assaulted anyone. All right, never mind. Louis C.K. just got a Grammy. The most censored comedian in America, period. You're more censored if you're anti-war than for all the other shit that these people do. No, but it's in a single day. Well, so in 3 days, a lot of the TV shows are canceled. All the old episodes deleted off of YouTube. Podcasts deleted off of Spotify. But in America, we have freedom of press. We have freedom of speech, right? That's what we have here. No, it's utter horseshit, but it's exciting to be here. This is such an important cause. Julian Assange, a man who should have fucking statues built for him. I mean, if that's what statues are supposed to be in our society, right? The people we look up to, the people that show us how to behave, what we should be, what we should aim to be. If we could if we had the spine they had, that's what statues should be, right? Instead, in this country, if you look at the statues and you really, statistically speaking, apparently, there are more impressive and accomplished horses in this country than women. Something can be funny and true at the same time. You realize that? Like, you guys were like, I want to laugh, but fucking shit! All of us, really, if you don't laugh at everything I say that's kind of funny, but also, that's everything I have. So, we're in trouble. All right, well, actually, here's something else. This is for people not liking my other shit. The other day, I saw a sushi restaurant where the sushi goes around on a conveyor belt and you pick what you want. I think that's how bears view hiking trails. Take your time on some of these. All right, let's go to. Let's go to the real comedy material, right? Our newspapers, our lovely legacy press. This is the highly respected Wall Street Journal from this past week. Top headline: Leaders demand war crime probe. So that should say war criminals demand war crime probe, right? You're going to what? American and NATO leaders for a war crime probe? Let's go to Jeffrey Dahmer for restaurant recommendations. Charlie Sheen to teach us etiquette, you know, and fucking Will Smith. No, I'm not. Other headline: Tesla chief Musk disclosed he just bought a 9% stake of Twitter. And people are like, oh, this is great, because he's talking about not censoring Twitter. And people are like, this is great. And it's like, no, a sociopath just bought a large part of the public discourse. Don't celebrate that shit. And they are all billionaires are sociopaths, all right? Every goddamn one. They're not our heroes. They're not our gods. Stop looking up to them. They're fucking sociopaths. You cannot be a billionaire and not be a sociopath. If someone owns $1 billion of anything else, if they had $1 billion cats or $1 billion shoes or $1 billion collectible cookie jars, you wouldn't go, wow, really impressive. What is your trick? How did you do it? You'd go, that guy's a fucking lunatic. So what's the difference with $1 billion pieces of paper? And I know you're like, well, the difference is, it's actually worse because a billionaire could give half of their billion things to like poor people and change their lives, which you couldn't do with half of your billion cats. I mean, I guess you could change them for the weirder, but you couldn't help people. They're all sociopaths, and we need to start remembering that. All right, next headline. Invasion drives countries to green energy, but not yet. Yeah, if we just had more fucking war, we could save the planet. That's what we need. All right, this is New York Times. Excellent newspaper. Excellent. You know, oh, and by the way, for anyone under 30, I know you might not know what these are. These are, people used to buy these and hold them and read them, and they wave them around, and you know, it was a thing. It's like if you had a bunch of iPads all glued together and you. New York Times, I don't know if you know this, 70% of the distribution of New York Times now, sales of New York Times is for proof of life photos. That was for 4 people. John Carriaccio liked it. John Carriaccio, all right, if he laughs, you all better fucking laugh. Jesus. This man served time in prison for you people, and you're not laughing at what he finds fun. So this headline says, hundreds missing and tons of rubble to clear in Ukraine. So, first of all, apparently New York Times cares about people harmed by war. That's interesting. Yeah, look at that. But also, yeah, it turns out war is disgusting. That's what that headline should read. War is fucked. It's all fucked. Where, like, they show photos of the rubble and the dead and everything. Where were those photos? In Syria and Iraq and fucking Libya and Afghanistan. All of a sudden, New York Times is like, turns out war is awful. Then lower down on the page, Darfur trial at The Hague. The International Criminal Court. Which is a criminal court for prosecuting war criminals who are black. So, I don't know if you know this, was it 99% of the ones they prosecuted have been black? And the U.S. actually has, Congress passed what is lovingly called the Netherlands Invasion Act, where if they were to take one of our soldiers or one of our people and put them on trial at the ICC, we would invade the Netherlands.
What?
Yes! Yeah. We passed that through Congress. All right, that is going to be a fucking interesting invasion. I mean, them trying to defend themselves on their windmill-powered bicycles, throwing wooden shoes at us. That's going to be a hell of a fight. Another headline: boom time for vertical farms because we don't have seasons anymore. That's the part they forgot. They're just excited. Vertical farms doing really well because everything outside's dying. Maybe you want to mention that? No, not so much. Not in the New York Times. Some of these are bummers, folks. Some of these are bummers. This is still New York Times. Experts believe hackers are targeting Ukraine with misinformation efforts. This is the New York Times pissed off that they have competition. The misinformation effort. They're like, fuck! And those people don't even have to print it on the pieces of paper. And then this is maybe still New York Times. Germany finds it hard to drop Russian energy. I love how this is kind of like, standard, like, it'll talk about Russian war crimes and stuff in there. So it's like a standard anti-Russian article, but still they're using the euphemism for planetary death fluid. It's energy. Germany's finding it hard to quit energy. Energy sounds like, what suburban moms have at like a jazzercise fucking class. They got a lot of energy, a lot of pep. No, it's planetary death fluid. That's what they're trying to quit. And I think we're all addicted to it. Better go back to these. I have a voodoo doll of myself at home that I treat quite well. Well, let's see. I'll just do a few more minutes here. Biden is adding funding to the police. Yeah. More police, because that's really going to fix things. It's just more of these fucking idiots with guns. Yeah. And really, part of the solution is, please, everybody, stop calling the police for nonsense. You do not need men with guns inserted into any situation. Almost ever. People act like it's their daddy. They're like, the music is too loud. You're sending idiots with guns into a situation because of Bruno Mars did he was a little loud. Like that's like calling a guy with napalm because there's a light smell of ass coming from next door. It's fucking insanity. Honestly, and they are. They're maniacs. Most of them, they don't fucking know how to deal with half the situation that they are thrust into, and a lot of them are drugged up on steroids and all. The numbers, the estimates are that 25% of all urban police are filled with steroids. And guess what? Roid rage fits really well if you look at police brutality. Oh, poor decision making, quick to violence. All these things, like, oh, interesting. And we don't even test them. We don't even test them after they fucking harm someone. We don't test them. Like, we test Olympic athletes to see if someone legitimately jumped over things really quick. Oh, you went really fast over those sticks. Let's see if you did it legitimately, because otherwise you're going to fucking hell. But we don't with cops. Why are we like? I mean, with the Olympics, we're like, wow, you threw that stick really far. Let's see if you did it. Why with cops, we know, like, wow, you threw that grandma really far. Let's see if you did it legitimately. Let's see if that's a new record or not. Did you know that if you took your lungs and spread them out flat, they would cover a tennis court? No. But you'd probably lose the match. True story, Google it. All right, I'll wrap up with this. We need to expand, and as part of the reason I'm thrilled to be here, I'm thrilled to be with so many of you people. So many of you I kind of know, or I know a little bit, and you do such impressive stuff. And it's like we have to expand step one of this of changing this world is to expand the debate, which really all of you are part of. And don't debate with within this little, Randy mentioned earlier, this little fucking allowable thought on corporate media, which of course we've been, Randy lost gigs, I've been purged from media, like, they want you in this little box of allowable debate. That's what it is. They have, even when they have a debate, it's like someone being like, we're gonna bomb Syria right now! And then someone right here being like, we're gonna bomb them next week! And they're like, that's the whole debate. That's all there can be. And so you've got to expand the debate. Don't debate about whether there's too much corporate spending in our elections. Debate whether there should be corporations at all in this fucking country. Have that discussion. Don't debate about whether someone should be locked away for life for their third drug charge. Debate about whether there should be drug charges at all. Or whether it should be a health problem instead of a crime problem. Don't debate about whether, dropping our drone bombs is killing too many innocent civilians. Debate about whether we should be at war at all. Have that debate. Don't debate about whether our schooling system is creating too many dumb kids. Debate about whether there should be dumb kids at all. Whether they should be released into the woods to create a moron Lord of the Flies. Thank you guys so much.
Great. Lee Camp. Can you imagine that I can't find him on YouTube, I can't find him on RT, I can't find him on Spotify. They have mummified the voice of Lee Camp. And what did you hear tonight? Can you imagine that that's happening right now in this country, that the voice of Lee Camp is silenced? Along with Jaffer Khan, along with John F. O'Donnell, along with George Galloway, along with the great Afshin Ratanzi, award-winning journalist.
Chris Hedges.
Chris Hedges, yes. You're right, thank you. Abby Martin. Well, Abby Martin is like, let's look at it, man. It's amazing that we can't hear any dissent in this country. The only thing we get is that guy, Jim Sciotto, and the other guy, Jim Acosta. That's it. That's the news.
Come on, you got Rachel Maddow. Come on.
Well, she's a Rhodes Scholar, and Rhodes Scholar that decided that she likes to drink with Lawrence O'Donnell at 30 Rock at that bottom. Because I've done MSNBC 11 times. The only thing they wanted to talk to me about was this whole bullshit about Russiagate, Roger Stone, and Julian Assange. There was nothing ever there. Can you imagine Julian Assange saying to me, hey, look, I got this great stuff that's coming out. Would you do me a favor, pass it to Roger Stone? All right, really, let's pass this to Roger Stone. I want him to get it so it undermines the surprise of my release of these documents. I mean, it's just so fucking ridiculous, but they ran with it and for a couple of years, and now he continues. They brought up, especially this nutcase, Empty Wheel, this empty suit, Empty Wheel, that is promoting this ridiculous fairy tale that there was something between me and Roger Stone and Margaret Ratner Kunstler. There was nothing. But they continue to smear Julian Assange. That's one way, and because they want to quiet the guy. But at any rate, what I'm going to do right now, we still have Lucy Murphy's going to sing, and then we may have a couple of speakers afterwards as we got to close down the live stream. But right now, I'm going to bring up someone, and I could have brought her on in the beginning. I said, you know what? It's important that you go on at the end because she's the only one I know that has visited Julian Assange maybe 40 or 50 times since 2013. She's been, not you. Oh.
That's her 6 drink.
You're keeping the place, you're paying the rent. She brought me to Julian Assange in 2016 when I was at WBAI. I was looking for a guest, and she said, "Here." I didn't want to ask her because she had been visiting and she'd been working with Michael Ratner on the Assange case, and so he got on my show, and then we did the Assange countdown, and she helped me coordinate it along with Julia back in on April 11, 2017. And so she last visited Julian Assange 4 or 5 months ago. She's been, and if you take a look at her record, 50 years going back to as the organizer of the demonstrations and the sit-ins at Columbia University against the Vietnam War. She was Person of the Week on ABC News for her work with those in peace groups that were infiltrated by the FBI. And I mean, the list goes on and on, but she does it. Unlike her husband, the late William Kunstler, who got a lot of attention, she does it quietly, and she gets it done. She worked with me on the Rockefeller drug law movement. She got me into Tuya, where we got 46 people out of prison that were shanghaied into it, this racist drug sting in 1999. But she does it quietly. But she knows Assange, and I think it's appropriate that she is the last speaker before we go out with Lucy Murphy, and that is the great attorney, civil rights attorney, Margaret Ratner Kunstler. Give her a huge round of
I said, you know what, I'm optimistic. I'm optimistic that Julian is going to be successful. And the reason I'm optimistic is that it's impossible that this country would turn its back on the basic things, the only things that are left to it to be proud of. And that is the First Amendment, the ability to speak, the ability to criticize, the ability to choose who you want to elect on the basis of knowing what they had to say instead of hearing lies from everyone. So I said, you know, I stood up here and I said, I'm optimistic. And I'm embarrassed that I said that. I really am, because how could I have been optimistic in the face of looking at what this country has done over the last 15 years? How do I dare have optimism at that point? I mean, I know I had optimism because it was a clean fight, because it meant free speech, because they grabbed somebody who wasn't an American from another country and said, we can stop you from talking about what we don't want to hear by putting you in jail. Meanwhile, we can keep you in isolation for 10 year while we're readying our complaint against you. So, okay, it's all okay, we can do all of these things. And I'm saying, they can't get away with this. This is not possible. This is a white man. He has nothing to do with this society. The only thing he's done is speak out, publish things. He's not a gun runner. He's not a drug addict. He's not selling drugs. He's not stealing anything. He's not committing any crime. So it's not possible that you can grab him and put him in jail for the rest of his life. Well, it is possible. It is very possible. And I hate to say this because I want to be, you know, totally optimistic. And I haven't always been totally optimistic about what could happen to my clients. And I've been usually not disappointed because the worst things happened and that was expected. But I didn't expect the worst thing to happen here. And as you look around, today it's worse than ever, so we can see why it happened. Last year I didn't see why, but now I see why. I see that this country has deteriorated to such an extent that if they can't control what is said, they can't survive. Because they have done so many terrible things. They continue to do it, and they have to do it without anybody knowing or anybody talking about it, because they can't survive. And capitalism cannot survive without their doing what they're doing. So there's a problem here. So it's just an extension of the problem of imperialism and the problem of capitalism and imperialism, and it's all going to be over very soon, and I'm sorry to say that. And we'll have a real hero in the next millennium, perhaps, and that will be Julian Assange. And we will have someday statues for him, but not in my life, certainly. He is a brilliant, wonderful, generous human being who really never harmed a soul in his life and only had nice things to say about everybody, believe it or not. And I never saw him be chauvinist. I never saw him be talk nastily about anybody behind their back. And here he is, having been tortured and vilified and made into an enemy so that the United States can get away with this shit. And here we are in a world that is unrecognizable now. And I'm sorry to say it, and I don't know what else to say except that, I really love him, and I hope that you all can love him and perceive that how terrible this world has become through looking at what's happening to him. And what's happening to a large number of people in this room who have been silenced. And why have they been silenced? Because they're talking about what is truthfully happening. And we can't allow that anymore. And what does that mean? What happens then? Can we take to the streets? Well, it's the only thing we can do. And will we do that? And that's the question. Will we organize enough to take to the streets and do something about what's happening to this country? And I don't know. I hope so. And that's all I have to say.
Wow. Margaret Radford Puncher. Margaret Radford Puncher. She wants to talk to Fritzy.
Because you are a lawyer, and I was just mentioning this to Steve, but he is going to be tried in this district, which I think John mentioned, is loaded.
Right, can I get some water
totally
from Margaret
loaded against
here?
them. Is there any way that there's a way to demand that the venue of this trial be changed? Is that something that might at least be
It's
raised?
like the guys that were tried in
What?
it's like the guys that were tried in the attempt to kill Hitler in '45. It was in one judge's courtroom, and they couldn't get a change of venue. All right.
No, but you understand what I understand. It's something you do when the court is stacked against you. It's, you ask. I'm just wondering. And John, I think it was John who was talking about it. Is that this?
John, can they get a change of venue? No.
No, because they'll argue that the crime was committed in the Eastern District of Virginia because much of the information that was released was
But does
classified.
that mean that it still should not be something that people talk about
Of course.
and reveal why this is an
This,
unfair
what's his
venue?
name? Gordon Kromberg?
Wow.
Gordon Kromberg, is that his name? The prosecutor?
Oh, the prosecutor.
Yeah.
What is his name?
Yeah, that's his name. He's, if you ever saw Les Miserables, he's a guy.
Even with what you said, there are all kinds of times where a trial is moved.
Oh, yes.
Because even though that's
It's
where
not happening here.
it is argued that they couldn't get a fair trial there.
Yes.
That's
You're
what
absolutely right.
Couldn't that be argued?
Yes, I think it needs to be argued even though it may be.
How many years is that going to take? How much longer can he survive?
Many things that can be argued,
Here.
and that
Why should we do
there are
this?
many things that can be argued,
Why
and
do you
that were
matter?
argued.
Talk about it. Why do you matter?
Would you relax, please? Let other people talk.
I'm a host now, but I want to answer this question. Nothing that has happened to Julian Assange follows any law or follows any reason. I don't know why we should have, I mean, I was the same way. I always thought, well, this time he's got to win because. And I kept saying that. But it's not that way anymore. The world doesn't operate on the basis of justice, on the basis of, well, it wouldn't be fair if he were tried here. That's meaningless now.
Obviously.
But isn't it part of educating the public to have at least a group challenging this, because you talk about why this venue is so poisonous?
Right.
And
John can tell you about
You're
that.
picking one thing, but we could have argued, we argued all along about what was happening to Julian. We argued all along about people who were kept in Guantanamo. We argued all along about murders and the ways we kill innocent civilians all over this world. And we talk about it. But does that control it? Does that stop it? I mean, we could talk about it. And I agree that if it didn't happen, we wouldn't talk about it. But it happens and we talk about it.
Oh, no censorship.
No, I just, the thing about it is that I just think if indeed he is going to be tried in this venue, that we cannot be silent about how corrupt this is.
I agree.
And that's why we have to organize, and we're going to begin tomorrow morning in front of the DOJ. Tomorrow morning, afternoon, in the morning, we're going to be in front of the British Embassy. And Paula is going to come up here, and I want you to give her your name and how you can get the events, because we have to continue to organize. It's not going to happen on television. It's not going to happen at this event. It's not going to happen anywhere but on the streets. That's, if you want to fight, be a winter soldier, as Thomas Paine said, and get out there in 110-degree weather, 21 below weather, and get out there and fight, because this is the end of this is this a democracy? No. But I know that. But any kind of, as John Pilger said, any scintilla of a democratic society that we live in the West, I know it doesn't exist. Whether it be Belgium or Netherlands, the UK, it doesn't exist. Okay, it's all for public consumption. But you got to get. Please, she's going to go around and get your names here, and we're going to have Lucy Murphy come up here. And Lucy Murphy, who has been at so many of these Assange events and other events. I last saw her at one for for Assange and the great Leonard Peltier, and for Mumia. I know. I was going to forget that. All right, so she's gonna close it. We've got a couple of tunes for Steve Jones, and we may get a speaker here or there for a couple of seconds. But we got to close down the live stream and move on, and we're gonna give it to Lucy Murphy right now. Would you please stand? Thank you, Margaret. How about Margaret Ratner Country? Give her a huge round of applause. That was beautiful. All right, here's Lucy Murphy. Let's go out with some music.
Thank you, Randy.
All in silence, locked in jail. Didn't have no one to go their way.
only thing that we did wrong was to wander in the wilderness too long. Keep your eyes on the prize. Hold on, hold on, hold on, hold on. Keep your eyes on the prize. Hold on. And the only thing that we did right was to organize and fight. Keep your eyes on the prize. Hold on. Hold on. Hold on. Keep your eyes on the prize. You know, Paul and Silas began to shout. The jail door opened and they walked out. Keep your eyes on the prize. Hold on. Yes. In the key of E.
Okay.
Which is the people's key. A little music better from the 1940s. Look at here, people, won't you listen to me? Don't you run around the home down in Washington, D.C., 'cause it's a bourgeois town. Okay, I think we have to rehearse this. That's a call and response song.
Yes.
It's a bourgeois town.
It's a bourgeois town.
It's a bourgeois town.
It's a bourgeois town.
And for you A+ students, I expect you to do. I got the bourgeois blues. I'm gonna spread the news all around. We'll try this again. Look at here, people, won't you listen to me? Don't you trot around the home down in Washington, D.C., 'cause it's a bourgeois town.
It's a bourgeois town.
It's a bourgeois town.
It's a bourgeois town.
I got the bourgeois blues. I'm gonna spread the news all around. You know, me and Martha, we went all over town. Everywhere we went, the folks were turning us down. 'Cause it's a bourgeois town.
It's a bourgeois town.
It's a bourgeois town.
It's a bourgeois town.
I got the bourgeois blues. I'm gonna spread the news all around. A little stop verse. Well, it's the home of the brave and the stand of the free. I don't want to be mistreated by no bourgeoisie, but it's a bourgeoisie.
It's a bourgeois town.
It's a bourgeois town.
It's a bourgeois town.
I got the bourgeois blues. I'm gonna spread the news all around. And this is the verse that got me in trouble with Mary and Barry. After I sang this song,
All right.
there was lists where my name was. My name got whited out. And they didn't even close the list. They just left the space. Rich man in Washington, he knows how to throw a nickel to the mayor just to see him bow. 'Cause it's a bourgeois town. It's a bourgeois town. It's a bourgeois town. It's a bourgeois town. I got the bourgeois blues. I'm gonna spread the news all around. And we got a new mayor, so I'm gonna sing the same version of her. Rich man in Washington, he knows how to throw a nickel to the mayor just to see her bow. 'Cause it's a bourgeois town. It's a bourgeois town. It's a bourgeois town. It's a bourgeois town. I got the bourgeois blues. I'm gonna spread the news all around. Do you hear what I'm telling you? I got the bourgeois blues. I'm gonna spread the news all around.
Wow. Oh, yeah. Don't go anywhere. Lucy Murphy! Don't go anywhere. I want everybody that spoke tonight to get up on the stage right now. And I also want to thank Ford Fischer over here, who did the lighting, has done all of these events, not just here, but has done it throughout the city for all progressive causes. That's Ford Fischer. If you need live streaming, go to Ford Fischer. He is absolutely the best. He's committed, and he's cheap.
Thanks, Randy.
No, not cheap. No, he's expensive. No.
Thanks, Randy.
Expensive. No, he's committed. You want
just the right
someone
amount.
that likes what they're doing, and it's not a business. All right. Thank you, Ford Fischer, for this. How do people reach you?
News to share.
News to
News to
share.
share is the name of it.
All right, I want everybody getting up here. Margaret Ratner-Kunstler. And no, you were up here. Everyone to stay. John Kiriakou opened the show. And then we had John O'Donnell. And then we had Eleanor Goldfield. Anybody? All right, let's get this table out of here. All right. Everybody, is everybody up here that can we spread it out? All right. Let's spread it out. I want to introduce somebody once again. Can we kind of thin it out? The tall people behind people like me. Medea Benjamin, Margaret Bradford-Kunstler, Sophia, John Kiriakou, Grant Williamson, Lucy Murphy here, John F. O'Donnell, the great Mr. Jaffer Khan. I forgot your name. Katie Halper, Lee Camp, and the mother of their child, the great Eleanor. Oh no, I'm not supposed to say that. All right. This is Eleanor Goldfield, and they are the best. All right, thank you very much. Thank you all. And of course, Steve Jones over here. Steve Jones. And Ford Fischer, will you do a selfie, Ford? All right. Thank you all for being a part of this. We're all going to go back there and hang out in the back of the room. What? Yes, let's hold a sign up. That would be a great idea. This is a sign by NYC Free Assange, which co-sponsored this event tonight. Thank you. And let's fight for Julian. Let's try to get RT and this great show back on.
Free Assange!
Free Assange! Let's all say it together. Free Assange! Thank you all. Thank you, Taberton. Thank you, Fritzy Cohen. If you want to get this picture, go ahead. You got to get it with me. Dave Ruby, I love you, man. And I see Wired Reed out there, and I see Nick. Nick is out there. Branna, People's Party. I'm gonna run. All right, thank you.